Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Sharakaya Shakshu Militam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Darati Shvapalantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Samjivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Shgatpate Rupesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Shabanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhasha Kripa Sindhudaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadigo Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Welcome back. It's been a while. We haven't met. Yeah. Okay, so we are entering a new module, the last module of the Gita, module 3. So, what's the connection between, I would say, the previous chapter, first of all? Did I ask some questions? Let's see. Oh, yeah, that was the link. Yeah, this is the link. You answered. Huh? Let's see. Okay. What is the verse? There's a verse in the 12th chapter. I would say that's the link with the 13th chapter. Yeah. As usual, Vignesh answers a big layer. Yeah, definitely. It's all good. Huh? What is the link? There's a 12:7. Look it up. 12:7. Samudartha. I'm the swift deliverer. You know that verse? 12:7. Krishna says, those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, being devoted to me without deviation, engage in my devotional service, always meditating upon me. I'm the swift deliverer. So basically, this is the link, I would say, in the sense that what does it take for Krishna to come and act? What does it take for Krishna to be the swift deliverer? Because he has promised in 12:7 to redeem his devotees. So now to that end, he's going to declare the knowledge. What kind of knowledge? We need to elevate ourselves from the material world. So just a small recap on the Gita. So of course you know, but it's always good to refresh. And the first 6 chapters we discussed How karma yoga, action on the platform of knowledge, leads to bhakti. Nishkam karma yoga, we discussed so many times. Buddhi yoga also. If you dovetail your action in Krishna consciousness, coupled with Atma Gyan, you're not the body, that becomes Nishkam karma yoga. You do your activity, but Yat Karoshi, Yat Asnashi, Yat Juroshi, Dadasi, at 927, you offer Mother Upanam as an offering. So you are acting on the platform of knowledge. You're detached, you're not the body, and you are doing a lot of things, but 418, you understand, action in inaction. Actually, you are karma free. So you are inactive in one sense, even though you are active all day and night. Then the second batch of 6 chapters, Krishna spoke directly of himself, and he spoke about the glories, Bhakti Mahatmya, the glories of Bhakti, devotional service. So now, in this section, the last 6 chapters is going to discuss how Gyan leads to Bhakti. So Gyan Mishra Bhakti. So that is why this is, as I would say personally, it's one of my favorite chapters, I have to admit. As you may have noticed already, I'm not so much of a devotee. I'm more of a Gyani. So I like the 13th chapter, basically, I have to admit. So it's very interesting because we're going to discuss how the jiv comes in contact with matter. It's very important. If we want to disentangle ourselves from matter, how did we come in contact in the first place? How is delivered? By the Supreme. This is also discussed through the different methods of even fruitive activities in one sense. Then the methods of cultivation of knowledge, and ultimately the method of bhakti. So we're going to discuss about that. And then a very interesting topic also is how the jiv is from the material world. It's not his material body. The jiv is not his material body, but yet somehow or other is related to it. What is the interaction between the body and the soul, I would say? This is very interesting. It's quite an analytical chapter. Do you like this chapter, Goloka? Are you there? Do you like this chapter? I cannot hear you.
Huh? Yeah, I like it. It's just a lot of philosophy, a lot of
Yeah, technicalities, I would say.
yeah.
And Vignesh, you like it? I guess you like it.
Yes,
It's
beautiful. It's
your
quite analytical.
This is his feel.
it's that is his forte. Psyche is like this. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit like me actually. Yeah. I mean, this is a good thing about Krishna consciousness. We can dovetail, and we can dovetail everything. Oftentimes ladies are extremely devotional. Men are more in the mind and the brain. So in Gita you find everything for all basically. So here's 13:1, sorry. And it says, by the way, in this chapter, I forgot somewhere it says, I think it's 1335. It says we should study this chapter with the help of the Guru. I remember long back, I don't know if you remember, Harikesh Prabhu, he had a fall down long back in 98. Do you remember Harikesh Prabhu, Guluka?
Yes.
He was a great soul in one sense.
Yeah.
But of course, he had a fall down in 98. He wrote a book prior to his fall down, of course. He wrote a book exclusively on the 13th chapter. And the book must be in India. I have a lot of trunks in India, but I remember it was a splendid analysis. I mean, he was quite gifted on this problem. Okay, let's hear. Krishna here. Let's go ahead, you can read out. So it's called Prakriti Purush Vibhag Yoga. Vibhag means division. Prakriti Purush Vibhag Yoga. So the path of the division of Prakriti and Purush. Prakriti means nature. We subordinate, basically, Prakriti means subordinate. And Purush means Krishna, Purushottam. But we're going to see in the 13th chapter, it's quite amazing. Sometimes Krishna calls the Jiv Purush.
Yeah, that's
because
why I'm saying Purush is
only in the 13th chapter he does that. Because the Purusha Abhiman, we have this Purusha Abhiman, isn't it? We want to enjoy very strongly. So Purusha Prakriti Stohi, Bhunte Prakrishan Gunan, 1322. Even though we are Prakriti, Jiva Bhuta Mahabaho, it says in 7.6, 7.5. As we are Para Prakriti, no doubt, but still, Purusha Prakriti Stohi, we tend to act as a Purush. So much so that Krishna calls us Purush, actually. So go ahead, 1 and 2.
Arjuna said, "Oh my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field, and the knower of the field, and of knowledge, and the end of knowledge." The blessed Lord said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field."
Yeah. So how many questions are there in Arjun's question? How many questions? There's 6 questions. There's 6.
6.
So it's important. It's quite, it's tense, it's quite compact.
Yeah.
So basically, what is the field when we say kshetra? We're talking about kshetra here, kshetragya. So in essence, what is the field? What is the beautiful analogy of Srila Prabhupada in the purport?
Is the body?
Yeah. What else we can say? It's a field of activity. Yeah? So we are acting. Activity means acting. We are receiving a body and we are acting within that body. And Prabhupada gives example we have seen of the cultivator. Remember? It's a beautiful analogy. The farmer. Do you remember this analogy, Vignesh? No?
Yeah, I heard that. Like in one of the, I don't know purport or which explanation I've read. Explanation is that it is like agricultural field,
yes,
where a farmer like sows the seed and gets the reactions of shubh and ashubh, like pious and sinful activities after he sows the seed in that particular field, like a field of activities, like what we do as a jiva.
Yeah. So we've got a certain amount of land, right? And we are cultivating and producing foodstuff according to our own capacity. So it's a bit like karma kand, basically. We are working with the body, we are reaping the results, we are enjoying it. So we are repeating again and again. So the Antara Prapti, it means transmigration of the soul from one body to the next. That's 15.8. So we have, according to our capacity to dominate Prakriti, material nature, we're going to receive a body accordingly. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
You let's say you love meat, okay? So you have this particular inclination to rejoice meat eating. That's your interaction. You may have others interaction, but that's your main interaction. You want to dominate Prakriti by eating meat. So you're going to get a field of activity accordingly. You're going to be born as a carnivorous, tiger, whatever, hyena. So Arjuna is asking specifically those 6 questions. And Krishna immediately, right on, he addresses the first. Actually, he addresses the third topic, to be precise, not the first. He identifies the body with the kshetra, the field. And he's dealing with the fourth question, which is the kshetragya. What's the meaning of kshetragya? Goloka?
One who is attached to the body, one who identifies himself with the body.
So it's a bit, yeah, I noticed, actually, I told the BBT, because there's a mistake, if you look at the Veda base, it says, I wrote a letter to Narayani, actually, in the BBT. She works in Sweden. And there's a big, major mistake. In the book here, in the Gita itself, it says,
one of the purport, Prabhupada, they say Tagnamin. One who is attached, I think, is free.
Voila, right here, 13.1.
One,
Now,
yeah.
the person who identifies himself with the body is called kshetragya.
Yeah.
If you read I don't know if you guys have Veda base. If you have Veda base, look it up. It says the opposite. It says exactly the opposite, negation. It says person identifies himself, someone who doesn't identify with the body, it's called kshetragya.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that the latter is exact. Because if you are a kshetragya, you are knower of the field, then you are fully aware that you're distinct. Because you are the gyan, you are the knower, that your field is different from you. That's my understanding. What do you say, Vignesh?
Yeah, actually, I also just went to that particular purport while reading. It also clicked me at that time. But I just thought a different interpretation, like, maybe Prabhupada is want to emphasize that ideally the person should not be attached to the material body. So, but like it says, the person who should not identify himself with the body. Like normally it should not be the case, but normally we do it. And that's why we become the Purusha or Kshetragya. I thought in that line, so I just ignored that part.
I see. Here in the Gita, it says very clearly, right under my eyes, the person who identifies himself as the body is called kshetragya. But in the Veda base, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
So who is right? It seems to me that if you are kshetragya, means it's good. You are aware that you have a body, but you are not the body. That's my understanding, basically. So what did you guys write?
I just wrote whatever is the purport. I said one who identify itself with the body.
Yeah. So it seems to me that Srila Prabhupada is a bit disparaging the kshetragya here. Is disparaging in the sense that you identify with the body, it's not good. Yeah. Anyway, I wrote a note to Narayani from the BBT. She's taking care of Northeastern BBT for Europe. And I told her there's a dichotomy between the book and the Veda base. So, of course, I was asking you a tough question. I remember I was it's not easy. I know. I've done it when I was a student 20 years ago. I was asking you to delineate all the questions. That's quite kind of easy. But then where are the answers of Lord Krishna throughout the chapter? That's more difficult. I don't know if you guys did that. Like, for instance, Prakriti. Let's start with the first question. What is Prakriti? Where is that answered in the 13th chapter? I know it's not easy. It entails that you guys a full a full picture of the chapter. I don't know if you have a full picture of the chapter because we just started it. Perhaps Vignesh does, I don't know.
I have just went to that, just a rough overview of the entire chapter. So Prakriti, actually Krishna, like Krishna first talks about Kshetra, Kshetragya and Gyan.
Yeah.
And in 20th and 21st verse, Krishna talks about Apara Prakriti, with epithets like beginningless. That is 20 and 21st verse. Krishna talks about Prakriti.
Excellent. Excellent. You are definitely in the right section of the chapter. From verses 20 through 26, we're dealing with Prakriti. Then 6 and 7 coming up. I'm going to tell you because I know it's a little tough question. 6 and 7 deal with Prakriti. 7 and 7-4, that's another chapter. That's Prakriti, we know that. Where is he dealing with Purush? In this chapter 13.
So can you repeat which chapter?
So what I'll do, don't have a cow, don't fret, Goloka. I will send you my chart. I've got a chart.
Okay.
But just to tell you the difference, when I did my Bhakti Shastri, this is the kind of answers we got. See, you are kind of today. I mean, it's tough for you perhaps, but when I was a student 20 years ago, this is the question we got. The teacher will tell us, okay, you please find the questions and you find the respective answers of Lord Krishna. So we have to, we had to grant the purport. And this is how I got all my answers. It was not given to me. I searched. And then I confirmed with the teacher and he said, yes, you're right. And of course he corrected a few things here and there. But to tell you frankly, I noticed over the years, there's a decline on the quality of students, let's put it this way. Perhaps in the quality of teachers as well. I don't know, but could be also. But it's a fact, we are in Kali Yuga, I guess, and ISKCON is not spared. I noticed that. It's just a common affair, what to do. I will send it to you, don't worry. Okay, so you are clear for any questions on 1 and 2? Is it okay? I don't want to go too fast because, it's quite straightforward, but sometimes, especially Golokashi, maybe. 3, let's go for 3 now.
Text number 3.
Yeah.
O Siyan of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. And to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion.
Yeah. So that's a very important verse. One time Srila Prabhupada, actually I asked a question on this. Yes, question number 5. One time Srila Prabhupada, he had not a class, he had a talk. He had an exchange with a Mayavad or somewhat of an impersonalist. And the guy obviously didn't agree with that verse. Because what do we understand in that? What's happening in that verse? What is Krishna telling us? Goloka, what is he telling us here?
Actually, it's talking about how the soul is different from the super soul. They are not one. Even they're situated in the same body.
Yes. So basically he's saying there's 2 Kshetragya. Kshetragya is the J, 13, 1 and 2 we discussed. Someone who knows the body as different from him is a Kshetragya, number 1. Number 2 is 13.3. We are told here that, very clear, Savak Kshetre Shubarat, Shapimam Vidi, there's another Kshetragya Arjun. But the difference is, Savak Kshetre Shu, he knows all the Kshetras. Not you guys, we know our Kshetra, our respective Kshetra, but Krishna, Sava Kshetra Shubharat. I know them all. That's the difference. So in that exchange with Srila Prabhupada, that Prabhupada, the whole class, the person is trying to elude the topic. Prabhupada said, no, cha. The whole class is saying cha, chapimam vidi. There is another, cha means and. You understand? And means there's another one. And also is translated also. You follow, Goloka?
Yeah.
So what is the difference between the Kshetragya Jiv and the Kshetragya Vibhu? Vibhu means Krishna, is big. We are Anu Atma, we are tiny. We are Jivatma, 1/10,000 of a tip of a hair. Krishna is Vibhu. So what is the difference between Anu Kshetragya and Vibhu Kshetragya? We discussed, he knows all the fields, but there's something else also.
We get attached to the like Prakriti. We are not free from the attachments. Like Krishna is completely free from the three modes of material nature. But this
Yes.
Jiva who's there is bound with the three modes.
Exactly. That's a very good point. It's a good start. Tribir Gunamaya Baver 713. I'm beyond the modes. But also we are Kshara. Krishna is Akshara. Kshara means fallible. Akshara means infallible. He's a landlord. He's the landlord of all the apartments, of all the lands. Because see, Shankar, I don't know if you read the commentary of Shankar on this one. Have you, Vignesh?
Not exactly, I don't remember for this verse.
Sorry?
I don't exactly remember for this verse.
Yeah, it says, how does it translate? He who is the knower in all bodies is me. So it's quite peculiar. It's got a very strong impersonalistic leaning. It means you and I are one, basically. He who is the knower in all bodies is me. So cha, it means also, it means, how do you understand cha before I explain Vignesh or Goloka? This is the key word in that shlok. Cha.
I think the cha, they're talking about the cha indicate the total number of bodies.
Exactly. Excellent. I can see you read. This is good. And this is actually what Baladev Vidyabhushan also explained.
Yeah.
So if the soul and the super soul, like the Mayavadis proclaim, are one, how could you have to be able to defeat the Mayavadis, because they may speculate on this one. How could one aspect of the one, which by definition is undifferentiated, how can they give knowledge to the other aspect of the one? You understand? If everything is one, how can one aspect of the one teach us the other? How could one aspect be lacking in the first place? You follow?
Yeah.
This is how you have to go to the nitty-gritty. You have to break it, you have to go to the bare bottom, threadbare. How could something undifferentiated even possess an aspect in the first place? You have to beat them up. If both were one, absolutely no differentiation, even in terms of knowing and not knowing, how could it exist in the first place? Prabhupada, in that, you have tried to look it up. Prabhupada is heavy. is literally pummeling down with the other party, the Mayavad, with that word, cha, cha. And the guy is trying to escape, cha, chapimam vide, sir, chapimam vide. Practically, the guy must be sweating because Prabhupada doesn't miss him, We have to be expert in that. So we understand the two noise and the field. Any questions? Prabhupada is heavy on this one. You have to remember when, what Srila Prabhupada is using those strong statements. I will kick them in the face with boots. You know that?
So Mayavadi said, we all one.
Yes.
So why we have so many souls if we all one?
Okay, let's go into that direction. Vignesh will answer.
You want to explain? Like I should explain like from Mayada perspective, Mayavadi perspective.
I'd be careful. He's an expert. Mayavadi also. Huh? He can.
See, what I understand is this is all just a Vyavaharik reality. It is not a Paramaharthik Satya. From the point of Paramahartha, everything is one. Like Sarvam Khalva Idam Brahma. It's only like a relative reality where we see the distinctions and dualities in terms of varieties of the souls. Just like we consider we mistake the rope to be a snake. But it's actually not the case. So this is like distinctions are all actually in a way like a Maya.
Okay, I can see he's playing that game now. So Jiva Goswami in his Satsandarbha explained, first of all, sir, if you want to use this simile, the snake and the rope, those two objects or jivas, they're not jivas, sorry, those two forms must be existing somewhere. You cannot create something which doesn't exist in the first place. So the snake exists somewhere and the rope exists somewhere. So to misidentify them both is a figment of the mind. And the reactions thereof, namely fear, if you identify a rope with a snake, obviously, is going to create fear and other things. So the Mayavadis will say, well, the fear, in this, just as you might misidentify the rope and the snake, in the same way, the conditioned souls tend to identify this world as distinct from Brahman. So they say, well, because you identify in the first place, so the problem is lying with you. There's no distinction in the first place. So Jiva Goswami comes in the picture now and he says, well, first of all, those two exist somewhere independently. You cannot create something in your mind, in your petty mind as a jiva that doesn't exist in the creation of the Lord. So there is definitely what we have to retain from the Mayavadis is one good thing. We cannot deny that. What we should consider as Maya is the identification with the body. That is Maya. And on this one, we agree with them. We identify with the body. That is Maya. That is the bodily concept of life. That part we agree. But to say that the jiva doesn't exist or this world doesn't exist is total foolishness. How can you account, then the next question of Jiva Goswami, how can you account for the diversity of this world? Please try to answer. If you're a Mayavadi, how can you account, my dear sir, for the diversity, 8.4 million species of life? Look at the through your window, how many shades of green are there? I can see at least 30, 40 shades of green here. Not only one shade of green. How can you, if everything is one, if everything is illusion, identification with illusion, like you say, we identify with the rope, the rope and the snake. How can you make up for the diversity of this world? So the predicament of the Mayavadis is, what is it? Exactly, if you want to touch it with your finger, they are thinking, it's like pantheisms, they are thinking when there is transformation or alteration of Brahman, it implies Brahman becomes altered, contaminated. It cannot be so, because Brahman is Advaya-gyan. It's undifferentiated, it's nirakar. If there is alteration, transformation, it means the Brahman is contaminated then in their petty consciousness. Little do they understand. Goloka Nivasati, Akiratma Bhuta. Little do they understand that actually when the Ashintya Shakti of the Lord transform to make up for the variety of this world, he, Krishna himself, is doing something else. This is the point. Shakti Matayo Abeda, yes, the energies are not different from the Shaktiman, but at the same time, they are different. He himself is not affected by the Parinamvad. Our philosophy is Parinamvad, Vyasadeva, Parinamvad. The transformations of the inconceivable energies of the Lord do transform themselves to make up for the variety of this world, but he himself, Shaktiman, is doing something else. And that they cannot grasp. This is where they put their foot in their mouths. They are thinking that if there is transformation, there must be alteration, there must be contamination. Thus, we reject it, sir. You understand? That is why it's called Mayavad. It's the path of Maya. They are in Maya, basically. You follow, Goloka? And
Yeah.
Anyways,
The
yes, go
concept
ahead.
of Nirakar. So can
Sorry. Niraka means no account, nobody. They have nobody. See, they are very offensive. Mayavadi Basha Shunile Al Savanash. They are thinking, yes, yes, God exists. Yes, yes. He has no nose. He has no ear. He has no legs. Just like I'm telling you, yes, Goloka, but I don't acknowledge you as a person. That's offensive.
Yeah, I know some religions who say God is just like a light.
Yeah.
You know.
There's different forms of Mayavadism, but
like the Brahmakumaris, it says,
yeah.
that Vishnu and Lord Krishna, Ram, everybody or Devta,
They are very offensive.
Yeah.
Either you cut their tongue, you leave the place, or you defeat them.
The Supreme Mother is just a light,
Some people are not offensive, but some are offensive.
And they say the soul is on the forehead. It's not. They never mention the soul within the heart. Like
so you quote Gita, you quote Atma Gyan, 2nd chapter.
Yeah.
So let's carry on. Do you have any questions? So Prabhupada, I was saying, is very heavy. Kicking in the face with boots. How can one become God? So this 13th chapter is replete with this stigma, the stigma. We have to defeat them. It's part of Bhakti Shastri to be able to defeat, crush Mayavadism. It's not just an option. No, you have to become expert at that. You are God, I'm God. I'm the kicking God. Prabhupada used to say, I'm the kicking God. I'm going to kick you in the face with boots. I'm the shoe beater. He used to say, I'm the shoe beater God. And if you are God, protect yourself, because I'm going to beat you. Prabhupada was heavy. One time in MIT, 68, way back, Boston. Can you imagine 68? There's no one around. I mean, it's beginning of ISKCON. And he's having a talk. Hardly anyone came. 68. Sasvarup Das, he was not even Goswami. He arranged the meeting in Boston. Hardly anyone came. There's one Indian guy, very young, very fiery, and Mayavad to the T, And he argued with Prabhupada. Prabhupada was new in America. And they were fighting like anything. At the end, Prabhupada grabbed him by the collar. Can you imagine? Sadhvarup had to intervene. He grabbed him by the collar, Prabhupada. And Sadhvarup said, he had to separate. Can you imagine? It's like that. Pure devotee will not allow. Will not allow. Okay, let's carry on. So now the three Brahman conceptions, I think it's there in 3. Okay, you explain, Goloka.
Mm-hmm.
What are the 3 Brahman conceptions?
Yeah, in the three Brahman. According to the purport is that the 3 type of Brahman. The first one is the position of the Prakriti, material nature. And the second Brahman is a Purusa, enjoyer, in us, the spirit soul.
Yeah.
And the third one, Iswara, is, the knower, one who knows, the supreme controller of the...
Yeah, ideally, you should have quoted verses. Some verses we covered already.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with Krishna. Krishna says 10:12. Param Brahma, Param Dham, Parivitramidam Uttamam. This is the answer. He's saying 10:12, Param Brahma. Finish. Is Brahman. Number 1. That means number 3. Now, the Jiv, what would you say to prove that is Brahman? Which verse? Aham Brahmasmi. This is verse. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahma. This is not Gita, but it's a famous, it's a sutra, Aham Brahmasmi. And now Prakriti, there's a verse in the Gita.
Prakriti Kriyamanani.
No, not really. It doesn't amount to that. But
Maybe.
I'll give you a clue in the 14th chapter. Vignesh. Which verse in the Gita acknowledges that Prakriti can also be called Brahman? Of course, we haven't covered it, I know, but it's coming up. Mama Yonir Mahat Brahma. You know that verse 14:3. Tasmin Garbham Dadam Yaham. Sambhava Savabhutanam Tato Bhavati Bharat. So here, basically, it's very interesting the way it is translated by Prabhupada. This total material substance is called Brahman. So, in other words, the Mahatattva is the total cause of this total cosmic manifestation. And this total substance of the material cause, in which there are the 3 modes are there, it's called sometimes Brahman. And it says here 14:3, it is the source of birth. This is what Lord Krishna impregnates. Is impregnating what inside? The jivas. We are being cast. I have to close this bloody door. It keeps on slamming all the time. So we are being cast. We are being cast in this pradhan, basically. in this Mahatattva. Mahatattva is transformation already of Brahman. So this is 14.3 is the proof that Prakriti is also called Mahabrahman. It's called, Prabhupada says in 14.3. Sometimes it's called Mahabrahman. You can see the 24 elements beginning from earth.
It's really like very scrutinizingly explaining Brahman, because we always thinking Brahman is just a Brahmajyoti.
It's a very just like you say Gyan, Goloka, it's a very vast, very vague term. Brahman, Gyan, just like we discussed in the Gita. 7.16, the Sukriti now, that Gyani described here, there. 7.17, 18, 19, 18, 19. This is not a regular, it's just a Gyani name. Is actually very advanced devotee. Krishna says 7.17 is as dear as me. He's engaged in pure devotional service. It's just a Gyani name. And then 17, 19, he goes, after many births, he surrenders unto me. Samahatma Sudolabha. So we have to, just like in English, you may have a vague term. It's Gyan, it's vague. Brahman, this is vague. You have to define it. So just remember, it could be the Jiv, could be the Prakriti, 14.3. It could be Param Brahma, the Supreme.
Okay.
Remember.
Like in the 8.3, like words when Arjuna asks to Krishna, like what is Brahma, what is Adhyatma, and all those questions he asked in that particular chapter.
Yeah.
So Krishna at that time defines that Brahman is like Aksharam Brahma Paramam. Like the indestructible, transcendental entity is called Brahman. So is that a common definition that we can apply to everything, or would that only?
Okay, so very, very good question, Vignesh. Here in 8.3 is referring to the Jiv. It's referring to Brahman as a Jiv. It says the indestructible, transcendental living entity. See, look at the verse under my eyes. It's called Brahman, and its nature Adhyatma. And Adhyatma is Jivaras Svarupa Krishna Nijadas. We are by nature, we are servant. We are the self. We are Kshetragya. We are different from the body. But here, 8.3 is referring to the Jiv as Brahman. So it's very interesting, all these different conceptions of Brahman. We have to be able to at least explain them, not deeply, if it's not your cup of tea, but you should be able to distinguish them as a Bhakti Shastri student. So now, Krishna in 13.3, he has defined Gyan. What is Gyan again, Goloka? According to 13.3.
Gyan, I mean the knower of the activities of the body or something?
Yeah, but look it up. 13.3, what is his definition of Gyan? That is my opinion. He's talking about Gyan already. Remember, it's
the body and the owner of the body. I think.
Yeah. So remember when Arjuna asked in 13.1, one question was, what is Gyan? This is Gyan. Gyan is defined very early here. Gyan means you know that there is Kshetra and two Kshetragya. This is Gyan. Which university is teaching that in the world? This is Gyan. And Krishna said, that is my opinion. Full stop. Where is it being explicitly given out to the public, except in ISKCON or perhaps other movements here and there? But where is it taught authoritatively in the academic world? See, they are teaching all kind of aparavidya, even subtle science and stuff. But when it comes to real Gyan, no one is there. So And furthermore, Gyan will be explained further. You will see between 8 through 12, and I would say 24, at the end, 24 through 37. It will explain the process of achieving Gyan. It is not the first time we are touching on this topic, by the way. Huh? Where did we touch on this topic of Gyan? I'll give you a clue. Chapter 5. Remember? I think it was 5. Try always to do some cross-reference, with what we covered. This is a good sign that you are growing, Try to crisscross reference all the time. Ideally within Gita, or even if you are even further, between Gita and other books, like Srimad Bhagavatam. I would say in the chapter 15, chapter 5, sorry. See, 5:16. Remember, just to recap the concept there, Krishna says 5:15, Nadate kasachit papam nachevam sukritam vibhuhu.
Yeah.
Remember? Go ahead, Goloka, if you want to say.
Yeah, I'm just reading it. Igyanena tutat agyanam. He's talking about.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
He said the translation, however one is enlightened with knowledge by which nuisance is destroyed, then knowledge reveals everything.
Exactly.
As the sun light up everything in the daytime.
So we are talking about Gyan, the same story. It constitutes enlightenment. But we have to understand this enlightenment is born of goodness. It's sattva gun. It is not sufficient for liberation. Only when your knowledge comes to the point of including Paramatma Gyan, Paramatma knowledge, then you become liberated. So first of all, you have to come to Brahmaput, Nirgun. Then you need to know further the super soul. But in one stroke, 828, Krishna says 828, remember? My devotee is not bereft of the results of other paths, Arjuna. Krishna says, Prabhupada says, in one stroke, 828, in one stroke, the devotee bypasses everything because he has access to Bhagwan. See? Anyway, let's carry on. 4. Let's hear 4.
Okay.
Unless you have questions, feel free to interrupt me if it's not clear, because it's a bit, I would say technical.
Okay. Now please hear my brief description of this field of activity and how it is constituted, what its changes are, whence it is produced, what that knower of the field of activities is, and what its influences are.
See? I mean, all these people who are studying chemistry, physics. I mean, I would be a student of physics, I would be, I don't know anything about physics, but I would be taken aback or attracted to this verse. Lord Krishna is telling everything here. Can you imagine? It's a brief description, first of all. How the field, the body, is constituted. They're trying to plug their hair since time immemorial to get it right. Krishna, in one verse, is saying what the changes are, the changes of the body, of the kshetra, whence it is produced. These are key questions of life. Who is the knower of the field? We discussed Kshetra Gyan. What are the influences of the body? We're talking about psychology here. We're talking about we're talking about physical influences and psychological influences also. That should be very interesting to students of higher subtle science, psychology, psychiatry, So this is very interesting, and we should definitely not overlook this section. So Krishna is going to reply. Of course, I'll send you the chart because I did that chart long ago. Krishna is going to reply very soon in 6 and 7 when it comes to how the body is constituted. You're going to see. Try to keep in mind 6 and 7. See, Krishna is extremely precise in his answers. He doesn't shoot in the breeze. It may not be in order sometimes, it's true. But still, he replies to each and every question of Arjuna. He doesn't let him hanging.
So, the Brahman also
yes?
answered in his own words in his purport also?
Say it again, sorry.
But Krishna is answering the question Arjuna is asking. Is that Prabhupada also commented on that? Is that also the answer?
Yes, oftentimes Prabhupada is ahead of Lord Krishna. he tends to do that. But Srila Prabhupada here in 4 is repeating what the causes are, what the reasons are, what's the ultimate goal of the jiv. One should know the distinction between the jiv and the super soul. Is basically rephrasing the verse. And the main point of Prabhupada, as usual, is stressing like anything in this chapter, you're not the super soul, be careful. We should not consider the jiv the know of everybody. No, it's only one kshetragya. It's a tiny kshetragya. He knows only his pieces of land, his piece of land. But the questions are going to come up very soon. Be patient, 6 and 7. So, although Lord Krishna, he will discuss, and these 5 points here of 4, and he's going to address also the remaining topics from 13.2. He's going to explain them in brief. Gita is, sometimes it says it's ABC. So he's not going to linger. And he's going to tell us in 5 where we can find further information. These are limitless topics. So in 5, is indicating to Arjuna where you can go further in those tattva, Arjuna. Go ahead, 5.
Text 5.
Yeah.
That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect.
So that's, I would say this verse is quite mind-boggling. Because who is speaking here?
Krishna.
Is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why does he need to refer to Shastra? Like he said, you have seen in 3, oftentimes it does that. This is my opinion, Arjuna. As if to say, finish, story is over. He could say the same in 4. No, he doesn't do that. On the contrary, he says, by the way, if you want to know further, consult Vedanta Sutra. So don't you find it amazing?
Mm-hmm.
He could say, that's it. Just listen to me and bas. But he himself is referring to Shastra. What to speak of us? This is called Shastra Shakshu. So it's a great example of Shastra Shakshu. You can, what is Shastra Shakshut? You tell people, certain five. Even God himself is referring to Shastra. Rishibir, look at the Sanskrit. Rishibir means the sadhu. Prabhupada always say Guru Shastra Sadhu. You have heard that millions of times. It appears here. This is the proof. Guru Shastra Sadhu. Who is Guru here?
Krishna.
Yes, excellent. Rishibir, who are the sadhus? Rishibir. And who are the Shastra?
Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, and specifically in 5, Brahma Sutra, Nyaya Prashtan. See, Brahma Sutra is Nyaya Prashtan. There's different type of Prashtan. There's Smritish Prashtan, there's Shrutish Prashtan, there's Nyaya Prashtan. So Vedanta Sutra is the last word in the Ved. Krishna says 15:15, Vedesh Shasave Aham Vidyo Vedanta Krit Vedavit Vachaham. I have spoken the Vedanta in the form of who has written the Vedanta?
Yesterday.
Very good. Remember, Vyasadeva didn't compile the Vedas, didn't write the Vedas. Even Krishna himself doesn't say, I wrote the Vedas. Where does he say that? Find me a verse where he says, I wrote the Vedas. Find it. Even 15:15, he says, I've compiled, and by all the Vedas I'm to be known. He never says, I've written the Vedas. Why? Why?
Vedas are eternal, like the Lord. Vedas are also eternal, like the Lord.
Exactly. Brihad Ajanaka Upanishad explained, it is the breathing of the Lord. How can you write the breathing of the Lord? But yet, we should not diminish Vyasadeva. He has penned 2 books. Actually, he has penned 3 books. What are the 3 books he has penned? Himself. Brahma Sutra. This is one. Vedanta Sutra, Brahma Sutra, same. Number 1, number 2.
Mahabharata.
Very good. Number 3.
Vedas.
Sorry, what is the natural commentary of Vedanta Sutra?
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Excellent. So even Vyasadeva himself didn't write the Vedas. Prabhupada gives a beautiful analogy in the first canto. It's just like if I throw millions of coins on the floor, it's mixed up. Then what you do, you stack up the coins according to categories: $1, 5 cents, 10 cents, 50 cents. So you are arranging the coins. This is what Vyasadeva did. He compiled. To compile doesn't mean to write. It means to arrange. But yet he has penned 3 books. So that's amazing 5 to me, because even God himself is referring to Shastra. Any question? So here, this is very interesting. Huh? I don't know if you went through the purport. What is called, I think it's called the Brahmapuchan. Can you explain? Go look up Brahmapuchan Pratishta. Go ahead if you have a question first.
Yeah, I would just say Vyasadeva is a literary incarnation of Krishna. So
Yes.
he definitely has a knowledge because he's non-different.
Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi. And there's a verse in the first canto. Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi. He's Bhagwan. See, Vyasadeva it's a little tricky. Just like Brahma. Regularly, oftentimes Brahma is the Jiv, but if there's a dearth of how do you say, of qualified Jiv to occupy that post, then Vishnu himself will occupy. Same with Vyasadeva. Oftentimes it's a Jiv. But if there's a lack of qualified Jiv at a given moment, Vishnu will step in. So let's talk about Brahmapuchan here. Did I ask a question about Brahmapuchan?
No.
No. What is Brahmapuchan in brief? Because it's mentioned we should not overlook. What are they basically? Pucham means tell, the tell. Brahmapucham, Pratishta. You want to try, Vignesh, to explain? It's right there in the purport. You just
Yes, basically, Srila Prabhupada refers to the Upanishad verse of Brahmapuchan Pratishtha. So he talks about 5 different types of stages of realization.
Yeah.
We could say, like first is Annamaya, where we have a basic dependence upon food for existence. Like we could say, like animals, like they just depend on the food. They don't have any other further understanding of what life is all about. So it's like Annamaya Kosh, all about. And then this is like a materialistic realization that Prabhupada says. And then Pranamaya, once we understand, once we cross the Annamaya stage, we can understand the life, living symptoms that exist around us. And not just a matter, but we can also understand the living symptoms of the various life forms. That is one step higher realization, that is Pranamaya. And then Jnanamaya. Jnanamaya is more about realization, like in terms of thinking, acting accordingly, and applying one's intelligence and using one's free will. That could mean Jnanamaya. And then comes Vijnanamaya. Prabhupada says this refers to Jiva can attain this stage of Vijnanamaya. Generally, like living entity, when we distinguish us from the matter, understand that we are Brahman. That stage of realization could be said as Vijnanamaya. And finally, when we understand the Supreme Lord, who's bliss personified, that stage of realization is Anandamaya. Like how we say, like Raso Vesaha, like God is full of rasa, bliss. So that stage of realization is Anandamaya. So that's the highest stage of realization.
Good. And where is spiritual material life going up to in those 5? These are basically 5 aspects of Brahman realization. Let's put it this way. And material life occupies which portion of the 5? What do you think?
Anamaya.
Definitely there's Anamoy. That's an animalistic life. Even a rabbit is Anamoy. Where is food? Where is food? Even to some extent, man is like that. Of course, he's got a little more. Man's got also a woman, for that matter. Pranamoy, obviously, life symptoms are there. We are conscious that we are alive. Even animals, some animals have that. Like a tree may not have that. I don't know. I'm not a tree, but is the tree conscious that it is alive? I don't know. It's a good question. It's then higher than would be Gyanamoy. So I would say material life, material existence go up to Gyanamoy. What do you think, Vignesh?
Yes,
because beyond that is spiritual life. It could be impersonalistic, okay, but let's say Brahmabhut, you are on the level of Brahmabhut, Nirgun, 255. Once you have given up all types of varieties of sense gratification, and you understand Atmaram, Atmakam, you derive your satisfaction in the self alone, 255, then you are in transcendence. It doesn't say specifically 255 that you're a devotee. It infers that someone is Nirgun. So it could be a Brahman realized person. Did you get it clear, Goloka?
Yeah, and Prabhupada explained this also in 13.5 purport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does he say?
The whole aspect of this, Pranamai, Gyanamai,
Or he
Pranam,
mentions that also.
Pranamai.
Yeah, pranamoi. Pranamoi means basically just like it's called Gyanamoi, it's the same. Huh? Same. It's a synonym. Pran means the vital airs. There's 5 minors and 5 major. Pranamoi, first one is Anamoi. Pranamoi is actually the second one, the life symptom, sorry, the life symptom. Then Gyanamoi, Vigyanmoi, Anandamoi. Okay, that was just, since Prabhupada mentions, we might as well delve a little bit. So in one sense, we could ask ourselves, what's the connection between this, it's called Brahmapuchan on this topic, Brahmapuchan, and Arjun's inquiry in 1. Remember in 13.1, he's asking about Prakriti.
Purusha.
So this is Prakriti, actually. The first 3 are Prakriti, Anamoy, Pranamoy, and Gyanamoy. This is Prakriti. It involves the fields of activities. This is basically the state of affair of today's world. As soon as you enjoy transcendental bliss, then Lord Krishna expands, actually. These are different aspects of Brahman realization. Krishna expands to facilitate. This is his mercy. Can you imagine? A snail, take a snail on a lettuce leaf. What is his connection with the Absolute? So Krishna has enabled the snail, can you imagine, to connect with the Absolute. In which form? Anamoy. The tiny little snail is eating the lettuce leaf. That is his connection with the Absolute. Because this Anamoy is it's a beginning start of Brahman realization. So Lord Krishna expands down to that very lowly level. It's part of Brahman realization, Anamoy. And he enjoys transcendental bliss. Lord Krishna appreciates that little jeev is there. It's mine. Mamemancho jiva loke, jiva bhuta, sanatanaha. That little snail is the jeev. It's mine. Let me help him out. Let me expand so at least he eats to his heart's content. You follow? And so the jeev has decided to enjoy. As soon as you decide to enjoy, this is the shift. As soon as you decide to enjoy, dovetailing with the Anandamoy, Anandamoy Byasat, this is Krishna, then you become perfect. There's nothing wrong enjoying, but you have to enjoy with Krishna. Then your life becomes perfect. And the little snail, unfortunately, doesn't know. So he's eating his lettuce leaf separately from Krishna. But if you come, let's say you come as a jeev, you are a human being. What do you do to help the snail? Goloka. You give him a piece of lettuce which is offered to Krishna. Finish. So that little snail is benefiting greatly.
There's a joke that we used to make in the beginning. You know Prabhu Arjun in Mauritius?
Yeah, of course I know.
In all his lecture, he will use this one. We are Ananda Maya Vyasa. And he always repeats that. And we, the girls, we always like to giggle. We were very young.
But Arjun, I don't know if you remember,
Ananda Maya Vyasa. We would just, laugh and just giggle and make it fun because he will always repeat that in all his lectures. We used to go to different places and have programs.
You're from Mauritius yourself, huh?
Yeah.
And I remember one story he told me, Arjun. I was there in 2 years, 95 through 97. Amazing story. Huh? One time, Prabhupada was in Bonacay Or, I
Mm.
mean, I forgot it was Banakari. I don't know if Banakari was created.
Rosebell, Rosebell.
Rosebell, whatever. Then in the middle afternoon, Srila Prabhupada cooked
Mm.
a khichdi. Can you imagine? Himself. And he comes out in the open, and he ate a little something, but he cooked so much. So he's asking around devotees, you want to take prasad? And there's no one except
Arjun.
Arjun. Arjun, he told me the story. He's like, he's got the whole pot, can you imagine? Khichdi cooked by Srila Prabhupada himself. And he's going around. There's no one. It must be everyone is out on Sankirtan or something. He told me he ate the whole pot. Can you imagine? He didn't share nothing. He just ate the whole thing.
He's a big man.
He told me I ate the whole pot. There was no one to share with. He could have shared with, put something aside for them in the evening, you know, or something.
Yeah.
He didn't do that even. Okay,
He's
let's
very
yes.
sincere devotee till now. He's still like,
He's still around?
yeah, he's still around. Yeah, he's very sincere.
Yeah, he's a very
He lived
senior.
with his family outside, but he still,
He's got one eye. I remember he's got one eye.
Yeah.
I remember Sriniketan also. You know Sriniketan?
Sriniketan is still there in Bonake.
Yeah. He's basically the pillar, the rock on which
he's
Mauritius.
one of my Shiksha guru.
Yeah, I remember even his former
Dreaming
wife.
Krishna consciousness, yeah.
I remember his former wife even. She
Radhika.
remarried. She married.
He was my friend too. Yeah.
She remarried with Madhav. You know that.
Yeah, she was one of my good friend when.
Yeah, she was such a good pastry cook. Oof.
Yeah, she's still like a very good cook.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into 6-7. 6-7, 13th chapter. Go ahead.
The five great element, false ego, intelligence, then manifested the 10 senses, the mind, the 5 sense object, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and conviction. All these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions.
Yeah. So it's a bit technical, but you're going to see if we take it very slowly and precisely, categorically, it's not so difficult. First of all, is answering which question of Arjun? We just touched it a few minutes ago.
The field of activity.
Is answering, or basically is developing, is giving more details, explanations of the kshetra, the field. Not only the field itself, but the interactions of the field. That should be very interesting for psychology student, if you ask me. How the kshetra is interacting. That's a very pertinent topic. And again, we discussed in 4. Remember the first question of 4? How it is constituted. Yascha, Yadrik. How, when, and where. These are the questions of 4. How, when, and where the body is produced. So it sounds like 7-4, remember? The 24 elements. Bhumila punalovayu, kamadu budirevacha, ahankariti yame, binna prakriti ashtadam. So we are talking about the kshetra here. We are talking 14.3 again, the Mahat Brahma. This is exactly when we discussed Brahman as Prakriti. This is the verse. Mahat Brahma. This is Prakriti as Brahman, considered as Mahat Brahma, which is going to be impregnated by Krishna. Ahambija Pradapita, the seed-giving father. So let's break it down again. We have done it in 7-4, but we can do it again. It's a long back. What are the Mahabhuts, Pancha Mahabhut?
Water, fire, air.
Yeah, ether. Good. So from this Pancha Mahabhut, what's going to come out on that? Because as soon as you interact with matter, you need to function differently as a pure soul. You are no more a pure soul because you wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. This is 1322. Purusha prakriti stohi bhungte prakriti jangunan karanam guna sangosya sarasadyoni janmasu. As soon as you want to enjoy separately from Krishna, what is the price to pay? You are going to contact the three modes. And then sat asat yoni janmasu. You're going to be born in sat, good yoni, or asat yoni, demonic yoni. So in order to function in this world, we need false ego. You follow?
Yes.
Huh? We need false ego. What is false ego? It is the reflection of the soul onto the plane of matter. If we have false ego, it means there must be a real ego somewhere. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any false ego. We know the real ego. Jivera Svarupoy, Krishna Nityadas, Krishna Tatashta Shakti, Beda Beda Prakash. We are one and different. We are servants of the Lord. So the first Pancha Mahabhut manifestation is false ego. And then what is false ego basically? It's when Mahatadva contacts Sattvagun, it's false ego. Then Mahabhut, Pancha Mahabhut, like you mentioned, Goloka. But within the Pancha Mahabhut, it contains, what does it contain?
The mind, intelligence.
It comes after. But within the Pancha Mahabhut, you find, try to remember 7.4.
Sense objects.
Yes, excellent. The Vishayan, the Tanmatra. You try to understand scientifically, it's mentioned in the third canto. Let's start with what is the most subtle of the Pancha Mahabhut?
Ether.
Very good. Akash. What is the physical representation of ether?
Earth.
No, the sound.
Sound.
If there is no ether, Goloka, you cannot hear me now.
Yeah.
We are 10,000 kilometers away. Why can we hear ourselves on Zoom? Because of ether. The sound is the physical representation of ether. So what is the sense object of ether? It's sound. In other words, ether propagates sound. So sound is contained within ether. So you try to explain the other four like this. The next less subtle is air. Air contains?
Smell, huh?
No. Vignesh?
Fragrance. Fragrance.
Vignesh, what is the sense object corresponding to air?
Fragrance.
The touch. Remember, it's because you have air on your body. We have bodily air. The skin also, because of the skin and because of the bodily hairs, you can access to the tactile sensation.
See, Vignesh just left.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah,
He's
issue.
back.
I'm back.
He got bored something or something.
That was a network issue. You can hear me?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. So the air, we're talking about air, Vignesh. I was trying to, you mentioned of perhaps Goloka. What is the sense object pertaining to air?
Sound.
No. We discussed sound is within
ether.
Yeah. Now pertaining to air, what is the sense object pertaining to air?
Smell.
No. I just mentioned it 5 seconds ago. Touch.
Touch.
Okay.
It's because you have skin. Thanks to your skin and thanks to your air, your bodily hair, you can apprehend the tactile sensation. Did you notice when something comes close to your skin, it touches your air, you can feel the touch, isn't it? You can detect the touch. It's because you have air on your body and your skin. The skin, this is how the skin enables you to touch. You touch something, or it's hard, or it is supple. It is it's gooey. It's gooey. It's it's repulsive. It's gooey. It's etc. etc. Because of the skin, you can do that. One below. Now we're going towards gross, Pancha Mahabhut. Next one is fire. Fire contains which sense object?
Heat.
Yes, but be careful. It is not the sense object of the fire. It is a quality of fire. Different. Fire has got two qualities, heat and light. But I'm talking about sense object. What is the Vishayan or the Tanmatra or the sense object? It's contained within fire.
Digestion.
The form. The form.
Form?
Kapil Dev explained you can distinguish form because of the fire element. Because of fire only, you can distinguish form. Next from fire will come water. Water will enable you to taste. Because you have saliva in your mouth, you can detect, oh, it's sugary, it's pungent, it's acrid, it's bitter. Corella is bitter because of your saliva only. So water contains taste, and then finally the end all element is contained them all. It contains all the others. What is the final element? Earth. Fragrance. Very good. So you can see already we got 10 and 5 and 5, 10 plus false ego we discussed briefly. That's 11. What's coming next? You can look it up and 6, 7 is mentioned.
9.
Before we jump, let's try to go in order. When it says here, look at the Sanskrit, avyaktam. Avyaktam refers to what in terms of component? Look at 6. Avyaktam evacha. Avyaktam means the pradhan. See, the pradhan. This is the original state of material nature. Pradhan. This is what Mahavishnu is going to agitate with his glands. Pradhan is there, so unmanifest. Then, again, due to false ego, we want to enjoy. Remember, this is the key problem. Bayan vitiya binivishita sasyat ishadepetasya vipayaya smritihi. 11th canto. Bayan vitiya, as soon as there is dvitiya. Dvitiya means two, duality. You are absorbing yourself in something which is apparently different from Krishna. This is the original problem. We are absorbing ourselves in something which is apparently different from Krishna. Dvitiya, it's going to create duality. Dvitiya. Abhinivishata. Abhinivishata means you absorb yourself in something which is apparently different from Krishna. It cannot be. But unfortunately for you and for me, we have absorbed ourselves in something which is apparently different from Krishna. Since time immemorial, we are doing that. What is the end result of that? What is the consequence of that? Bayam vitya abhinivishata ishadapetasya. Ishadapetasya means you reverse your constitutional position. Can you imagine? You are Jivana Svarupa, you are servant of the Lord, but because you have absorbed yourself in something which is apparently different from Krishna, is going to reverse, apparently, your constitution. And you're going to start acting either as God himself, or even worse, as the competitor of God. So again, you cannot function unless you are endowed with a false ego. So false ego, unfortunately, this is the bifurcation, you know. Because of false ego, we're going to be surrounded with matter. Just like if you want to go deep in the water, you cannot escape carrying a what do you call it, a air bottle and how do you call it, you know, water equipment, water uniform. So because we want to enjoy, then we're going to have to be endowed with senses. You follow? We're going to be endowed with kamendriya and gyanendriya. What are the kamendriya? Working senses.
Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch.
Yeah, don't confuse the two. Huh? It's quite clear and clear cut, clean.
Legs, hand, voice.
Yeah, very good. You're forgetting two, anus, genitals. We are working with that, right? Now, Gyanendriya, we are acquiring knowledge. The rest of them, you know, it's quite simple. Well, basically, you know, how do you apprehend the smells? Through the nose, through the tongue and the eyes, the tongue you taste with the tongue, eyes you see, the forms, the skin you touch, you apprehend the touching sensation, ears the sounds. So you got it right, finish. So Krishna has replied to he has replied briefly what he has mentioned about in 4. What the changes are, Yad Vikari, he mentioned. First of all, he has replied how the body is constituted, we just discussed, where the body is produced. Then he asked in 4 what the changes are. Yad Vikari is asking in 4. We're going to discuss now in 7. See how Krishna is precise. He doesn't left no stones unturned. You follow?
Yes.
It's very interesting. Now, in 7, we're going to discuss about the interactions. We're interacting with the world. Look at the Sanskrit. Ishad Vesha Sukham Dukham. What's the meaning of that? Qualities of the mind. We discussed long back, 727. Ishad Vesha Samutena Dvanva Mohena Barat. Sarvabhutani Samoham Sagayanti Parantapa. As soon as we're born, Ishad Vesha. I want to become God. I'm against God. We are attracted, repulsed. This is the symptoms of duality. It appears again here, Isha Dvesha, Sukham Dukham. These are the 7 qualities of the mind. See? You can read the Sanskrit. Driti. It's also another quality of the mind. So the 7 qualities of the mind. And there is interactions. Definitely there is interaction. It's representations of the 5 gross elements in the gross body. So, and the living symptoms, it's mentioned here, Chaitana. Can you see the Sanskrit? Chaitana. Yes. What is Chaitana? Conviction. Vridavrata. Consciousness. Consciousness is a symptom of the soul. Even that little snail I was mentioning, he's conscious. He's eating his little leaf. So it's animal, it's conscious. These are manifestations of the subtle body, the ego and intelligence. So all these 24, all these subtle elements are included within the field of activities. In other words, those 24 elements, they do interact with one another. This is the scope of the subtle science, psychology, and etc. So you can see how Krishna is expert in just brushing the matter, brushing the topic. Kapil Dev will go much further. So we could definitely conclude that the subtle manifestations is the mind and the psychological effects. And symptoms of life are the, how can you put it, the interactions of these features, will interact. You follow a little bit, Goloka?
Yeah, trying to.
This is, we cannot skip it because Krishna mentions it,
Yeah.
So it must be important,
Yeah.
We cannot just say, well, I don't like it, so let me skip it over. It's briefly touched. These are very deep topic. Vedanta Sutra, Kapil also.
Oh, I have one question on this.
Yes, verse. Yes.
Krishna in this verse, particular verse mentions about vikar, like transformation of the kshetra, right?
Yeah.
So, like in transformation of a kshetra, why does he include the word chetana? Because chetana is like consciousness. Is it not like something? It appears to me as if matter is coming from spirit, because consciousness is something which is a quality of a soul. How it can be kshetra and not kshetragya?
Yeah,
basically talks about vikaram.
Yeah, basically consciousness here, chitta refers to the living symptoms. Yeah. In other words, these are the manifestations of the subtle body, the mind, intelligence. It's called the linga sharira, mind, intelligence, ego. So, in other words, we can function with the mind, with the ego and the intelligence because we are spirit soul. So we are the soul itself is lending its energy to the mind, to the false ego, to the intelligence, because these organs by themselves, they are inert. It's only because the jiva has entered the body at conception. If everything goes well, it's going to grow. That jiva is going to grow. The fetus, it comes out. So, in other words, the jiva, that's my understanding, the spirit soul is lending its energy, transcendental energy, to activate the mind, the intelligence, and the ego. In that sense,
So I have
we can say expression of consciousness happening through mind. In and of itself, soul cannot express.
Yeah, this is exactly this. We're talking about someone who's totally conditioned. Like let's say, just like Krishna says in the 3rd chapter, the different levels of lust. Remember, it covers the consciousness of the jiva in 3 different levels. It could be like the smoke covers the fire, which is compared to human, it can be cleared away, it can be used, dovetailed. Then further, it pertains to animal life. Let's say the mirror, the dust on the mirror, and even worse, the embryo is covered by the womb. So in other words, the soul, even though we are spirit souls, but take a rabbit, for instance. How can that Jeev, as a rabbit, function as a spirit soul? It's impossible. So the best he can do is, again, the Kosh we discussed, Brahmapuchan, Pratishta, is gonna interact through Anamoy, and perhaps Panamoy is somewhat aware of the life symptoms. He's afraid. He sees a fox. He's running like hell to escape the fox. So he's aware of Panamoy. His life symptoms is there. So, but that's all he can interact with in terms of spiritual understanding. He's on that level, Anamoy, Panamoy. So it, unfortunately, unless and until we are Krishna conscious, unfortunately, we act through the Linga Sharia. At best, we interact through the Linga Sharia. And in terms of, unfortunately, in terms of material pursuit, in terms of material interactions, it's only when you, the soul, as a Jeev, extremely consciously you want to serve Krishna. It's no more the mind, it's no more the intelligence, it's no more the false ego, it's no more the goodness. Deliberately you say, now I'm going to chant Hare Krishna. So you are the soul proper now chanting. You are no more conditioned by the material nature at all, at least for the time being.
Yeah, I have another question. Like you said, like if somebody leaves a gross body, which consists of all these, 24 elements and everything, and we take the subtle body, goes to the next life. So what about the ghost? Is the soul present in the subtle body also?
Yeah, you have to understand that the soul body never dies. You keep on changing. Your pran, actually, the pran transport the soul at the time of death. So you are being transported. But you have the same mind as since time immemorial. And basically those three elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego, they are one, but they have different functions. Like the mind reinforces the false ego. Who is the good friend of the false ego? The mind. What is the job of the mind? To reinforce the concept that you are different from Krishna Das. And the mind will entertain any damn thing except Krishna Das. So it will entertain the false ego. Yes, you are a rabbit now. You are a giraffe. You are a butterfly. You are a woman now. So the mind has to reinforce that. So those three friends, they work combinedly, mind, intelligence, ego. And they are there. And of course, the intelligence is a mode of passion. The intelligence will carry out the whims of the mind. Because the mind is binary, accepting, rejecting, vikalpa, sankalpa, within three poles, thinking, willing, feeling. The mind cannot get down to action. It needs the help of the intelligence. That is why the intelligence is a product of the mode of passion. But those two, intelligence and mind, basically they are reinforcing the false ego. They are subservient to the false ego. So basically, those three are one and the same. It's just different functions. So now talking about the ghost. What is the ghost, Goloka?
It doesn't have a gross body.
Yes. So does it mean it doesn't exist? Where does he exist? On which plane does he exist? If you remove the gross body, what's left?
Mind, intelligent, and subtle.
Exactly. Linga Sharya, subtle body. So he's hovering on the subtle body. And it's quite frustrating. Can you imagine? You want to enjoy, you want to drink, you want to eat, you want to have sex. You have no gross body. They are frustrated beings. And what do? You know what they do? Of course. What is the goal of a ghost? Did you notice?
Create trouble.
Yes, but what is their end? What is their concern? They want to, yes, Vignesh.
They want to haunt someone's body. Maybe
yes,
someone's body.
Exactly. They want to enjoy. They don't have nobody. They are sinful. You have to understand. You commit suicide, for instance. This is a state of affair. You take drugs. Taking drugs, especially heavy drugs, will pierce your subtle body. When you are Krishna conscious, your subtle body is very compact. There's no holes. When you take drugs and that kind of stuff, heroin, cocaine, all these things, it's going to puncture your subtle body. And what happens? You are prone to be attacked by ghosts. You are no more yourself. Why do they want your body? To enjoy through your body. It's a very happy birth. You become a ghost. Oftentimes it lasts 125 years. One of my brother-in-law committed suicide in December 18th, 2020. We had to perform lots of yajna to redeem the soul. It's a severe path. Severe. What to speak?
Why they have this power? Only this free elements, they're able to create so much, trouble to somebody.
There's different types of ghosts. I don't know. I can see you going into that direction now.
Yeah. I know.
The worst type of ghost is Brahmarakshas.
In
Mayapur, I was 10 years in Mayapur. Devotees, the old timers, they were telling me in the early days in Mayapur, the Brahmarakshas, that is the worst type of ghost. They are former Brahmins. They fell down, but they had a lot of Brahmateja, a lot of spiritual power. And they become Brahmarakshas. And the devotees were telling me in the early days in Mayapur in the 70s, the long building?
Yeah.
In those days, it was under construction. Devotees were sleeping on the top. They had mosquito nets. And sometimes they would hear their names. Can you imagine? Someone is calling them by their names. So the devotees would wake up and go and search. Where's that sound coming? Then he would come on the brim, on the edge of the building, and he got pushed by Brahmarakshas. They're very powerful. They're nasty ghosts, very nasty ghosts. So you find good ghosts, but oftentimes they're nasty because they're frustrated. But again, it happens to me. One time I was attacked by a ghost. I remember, long back. And what it does, because they're on the mental plane, so where they're so expert to grab your mind. They just occupy your mind. And if you're not Krishna conscious a little bit, you panic because you cannot control your mind anymore. So what did I do? What would you have done, Goloka?
I say sometimes, like I'm sleeping, I'm being choked, I cannot answer, and I'm trying to chant
Yeah, so
Nrsimha.
this is ghost. So
Nrsimha.
what you do, I did it that day by Krishna's grace. I went on the platform of the soul on the consciousness level. And I was trying to send the Shingadev, and it wouldn't come out from my throat even.
Yeah.
But what I did, and no one can block you from entering your own stratum of consciousness. So what I did in my consciousness, I chanted Nishingadev. And it was not on the mind level, because the mind, I had no more access to my mind. The guy was in my mind. And I bypassed the rascal. I bypassed him. And he left.
Then you wake up. I remember that Nrsimha is not coming out,
Yeah, they're nasty. But be careful. They're putting a show. They're putting a show. They want to frighten you. They have no power. They have a power, definitely. They can push you off the cliff, Brahmarakshas, but don't be allured by them. Don't start to panic or to be panic-stricken. No, we are stronger. We are stronger. They know. That's why they don't come much to devotees, because they know devotees. These guys are too strong for us.
Did you get ghosts? What call? Vignesh?
Sorry.
Did you ever get attacked by ghosts?
No, actually, I know about some people in South India who worship ghosts,
Yeah.
like and especially in those regions where right now in Karnataka. So in Karnataka itself, there are many places where people worship ghosts in the forest area.
Yeah.
And if they don't worship them, then finally they claim that the ghost is not attacking me, so I should worship them again and again.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
get in that particular cycle of worshiping the ghost.
How do they worship them? How do you worship them?
Yeah,
Don't
in
tell
forest
us. She's
area, there are a lot
gonna
of
start doing it.
forest ghosts. They call it Daiva. They call it Daiva. There's a technical name for it, Daiva.
Yeah. So anyway, we have gone over time, but anyway, we covered many topics. But is it clear? I mean, to some extent.
We learn a lot about, like breaking up every single.
Yeah. From now on, it's going to become easier. Starting from 8, it's process of knowledge. I guess Chandra will do that. And then, it's very interesting, the process of knowledge. Then again, Geyam, with the goal of knowledge in 13, Then Geyam again, 14, 15, Achincha Bed in 15. Geyam 16, 17. So we are answering basically the 6 questions of Arjuna. 18, what is Kshetragya? See, Krishna is answering in 18 the influences. We discussed in 4. What are the influences of the Kshetra? It's mentioned in 18. It's very interesting chapter. Anyway, I wish I could teach the whole thing, but I guess I have to share with Chandra.
Maybe you should do that. You teach one chapter and so he teaches the next chapter like that.
You propose to him because he's the boss in this institute. He is the boss. It's not my institute.
Then we continue from one person in one
Actually,
chapter.
It's not a bad idea if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
And what we could even do better, the teachers can pick up the chapters that they like best. Because there's chapters as a teacher where you excel, and there's some chapters you are less performant. So that could be another way to go about it. The teacher will
be easy for exam paper also. I know.
Like for instance, if you ask me, definitely I don't mind teaching the whole certain chapter. There's certain chapters that you like better.
Should we suggest this Vignesh to him?
Yeah, I know it helps, I believe, because it maintains the continuity of the flow of thought.
Yeah, actually, it's a very good idea, Goloka. Thank you for that. Why don't you guys, you contact him and I have no objection, basically. I find it very good suggestion. Hare Krishna. I'll send you the recording. Yeah?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
If you have any questions, feel free to contact me on WhatsApp. don't forget. So Goloka send me that remaining.
Yeah. I
essay.
think I did send you maybe when you're spam, but I'll send you again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened, you know. And then Vignesh, you know, your shloks and those two essays.
I'll be sending my first paper today.
Okay, great. I know you're not behind, but
tomorrow,
you are quite
I'll-
diligent, I know.
I was just thinking a lot on the first paper because there was I was going on that verses of 12.8 to 12.
But don't
So-
write a thesis, huh?
No, it's just a 7-page paper, 7-page.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I just have some verses, and from this I reflect. That's it.
You know, at Bhakti Shastri level, in BV. See, by the way, I'm about to be, I'm telling you for your knowledge, I'm about to be BV, my institute is about to be BV certified. Huh? My file went up all the way to Board of Examination. It's under study. I filled out the documents myself. I BV certified myself also. And now I want the institute to be acknowledged as teaching as an institute BV. So if you guys are interested, once you have your Bhakti Shastri, you can contact me.
Sure.
Haribol. Hare
Haribol.
Krishna.